Go out and make believe you won't be gone too long. Run up and catch the bus, almost miss it again. A window seat and I watch the world rolling by. It only takes a moment for the show to begin. A big dog is walking the man, got a big bag to fill. And shots eyes on the corner, drinking a gin. Not a worry in the world until she gets to the end. Always gave your best, you did. Haven't smoked in years, but I still want a cigarette. All the things and all the things we did. The park band's about to say the first time we got lit. It only takes a moment for the show to begin. Open up the curtains and the two of us fell in. Woke up at the bus stop, let more people in. I wish that we could get back together again.
What's going on, everybody? How are we doing today? Everybody hear us? And hi, and cutting out. Hey, we're here. I'm here. You see me? Can you hear me? It's awfully loud here, man. What's up, baby? Yeah, we're good, man. Let's go. Everybody hear us? Everybody doing good? Right. My microphone cut out right before I started. I think I got a bad cord. There we go. That sounds better. How's everybody doing today? I think I got a bad cord on this microphone. We're having some issues here. It's all good. We're making it out. We're live and getting it done here. Sound. Output. Boom, boom, boom. Good, good, good. We can't have that happening now. There we go. There we go. All right, all right. Excellent. See, the problem is they got that. I don't know why, but this audio is dropping out on us here. All right. Just hang out, everybody. We're getting it done here. All right. Let's remove that. Let's do that. Good afternoon, everybody. How we doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Where are we at here? You're looking at something I don't want you to look at. It's on the other side of the screen? What is it? Huh. It's like a bag or something. How's everybody doing today? Everybody doing well? Hanging in there? You know what? Maybe we'll just turn it up. We'll sit back a little bit. Lots of feedback, lots of noise here. We got the other camera here. You can add that in there. There we go. You see. Getting done, everybody. What is up with this sound? Fuck me. Fuck me. This sound is brutal. I don't know what is going on. I'm having some. He's dropping out on me there. Yeah, here we are, HeadyNJ event. Getting it done there. Does it sound? I mean, the people talking and everything else is sounding a little crazy, but it's all right, right? Everybody having a nice day, I hope. Yeah, it's loud, right? Thank you, CPR. Guard state of mind, Rui. What's up, buddy? Trying to get the sound ironed out here. Small batch event with New Jersey Green Team tonight. Check that out. There we go. We're trying to. I don't. Man, I wish I knew why this Notorious Cat. Come on over. Say hi. I wish I knew what was going on with this microphone here. I told him that I needed more light. I don't look good in this light, but it's all right. We're getting it done. My volume over here is not even close for this microphone cut down. I'd like to stop and start everything. It's what it is. That table's not yours, sir. That is my table, not yours. So, we're broadcasting live. Getting it done. Yeah, getting it done. I don't like liquids on my tables. Somebody can put that in there. I'm the only one allowed to spill stuff on my fucking live streams. No, if you come and visit me, I'm going to give you a word of advice. If you have a drink in your hand and you put it down on your table to talk to me, I'm going to be angry. There's a lot of expensive equipment on my table here. So, how's everybody doing? Yeah, I really wish I could iron out what's going on with the sound here. Hold on, we're gonna. You know what it might be? All this shit up. Nah. All right, back off. There we go. It should be I. I don't know. It's just loud, right? Looks all right over on there. How we doing over on Insta? Holy shit! Look at all you guys. Wow. George and Martin and Dan and Garson Mon, Ron, Marty, Angel Eyes, Mike. It smokes loud. James the Grower, CPR, Notorious Carrot, Kandahar. How you doing over there? Very cool. It's awesome. I got to leave like the live stream up on the other side. It looks all right. I just don't know what's going on with the sound today here. Maybe it's just me. So here we are, HeadyNJ Craft Cannabis Celebration here, Jersey City, 94th Street, Jersey City, New Jersey. Head on down. $30 at the door. 1 to 5 p.m. We are here. Another 2 hours. We're going to get this panel started very quickly. We got Brighter Side Farms, Lindsay Shaw, Leaf Joint CEO David Jefferson, Gene Traders CEO Lupino, Baked by the River CEO Jesse Marie Villars, of course, and craft cannabis advocate and attorney John D. Williams stopping by. HeadyNJ Craft Cannabis Celebration, Jersey City, 94th Street. Stop by at the JC Walls. Yeah, we're getting it done. So we were down at MJ Unpacked, you saw. We had a great time down there. That was a fucking blast. Everybody had fun. It was insane. It was just absolutely insane. What a great time. You can hear that I'm still trying to get over it. Let's get into this, though. While we're sitting here, we got everybody hanging out. What are you smoking? We can have a little participation while we're sitting here chatting, all right? Stop down. I got all my notes here and everything else. So, yeah. So, Shore Grows in the house. We got, next to me, I got Panda Farm. I'm going to reach over and steal a business card. They're going to be happy about it, I'm sure. Panda Farms. Check them out. Who else we got? Thank you so much, CPR. We're going to have fun here. Yeah, I wish I had a little bit more light, but it is what it is. So, yeah, we got our coffee cup. Don't worry. We got our friends here. What is everybody smoking? All right, everybody. So here we are. It looks like we got Dan getting ready to show up over there. We can unmirror that. 1080 deep beep 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 boom. And then we're gonna do this. Watch this. Bam! Look at it. There he is. It's Dan from HeadyNJ sitting down over there. The problem is you ain't gonna be able to see him or hear him, but it is what it is. We'll get it done. Let's go with this. There we go, huh? How about that? He's smoking a runt over there, he said. I need to like lean like this if I want to be like. Maybe do that. All right. All right. You see Dan over there on the fluorescent ass couch. I was completely against that something that bright being on camera, but I can't. I got overruled. You know how it is. But yeah, there's Dan there getting it done. He's getting his paperwork together. He has no idea he's on live TV right now, or he does, but that's him down the corner here. I could do it like that, and then he could we'd leave it right there. All right, we look like we're dabbing some tropaya. I like that. Good. We're gonna leave both those cameras up. We're gonna see how it runs. All right, we are on a Wi-Fi here. Getting it done. It is very loud, but it's awesome. I feel bad because Brighter Side's here, and I don't have any of their flour on my table. But yeah, Asher, finest rosin. How you doing, Asher? You guys are getting ready to have the Steel City Cannabis Convention. Shameless plug up there for them. This microphone sounds a little bit better. How about a shameless plug for the whacking, huh? Yeah, still going. Can't even tell you the last time I charged this fucking thing, man. It was crazy. Everybody's just looking over at me, just doing my thing. It is what it is, man. We'll hide over in the corner here. Yeah. Oh, well, shit. I just kicked the... you just got home from Michigan, huh? I was told there's no water here, so we're going to do dry dabs today. Or dry bong hits today. All right? How's everybody hanging in? How's Insta looking over there? Nice, nice. Good, 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 good. Very cool. So, yeah, Dan's over there sitting there getting ready for the interviews. I guess it is. We can do that. We're going to have... Here we go. Now we're having the sound problem again, dropping off. It's me. I mean, no doubt it's me. All right. I'm going to remove that while everybody gets set over here. And then we're going to get ready. Awesome. Awesome. Looks like everybody's settling in there. And we're going to... why am I losing the sound? All right. All right. I'm going to try something here. All right. Hold on. You guys, we're going to switch cameras here. All right. And then we're going to do that. Hold on. All right.
Right, here we are again, another HeadyNJ event. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to see so many beautiful faces that show up today. Nice, great day that we have. Amazing panel right here. One of the heavy hitters. We got a lot of heavy hitters here right now, so we're gonna get a lot of gems to you guys. A lot of beautiful things happening in New Jersey. We want to keep it going here. We loved our craft cannabis, and we got some of the best right here on this panel. Hedy, thank you for having us over here again. And let's do it.
Hey everybody. It's good to see everybody here. Welcome to our Craft Campus celebration. It's great to have everybody here in Jersey City. Very lovely place. Our success wouldn't be possible without everybody here. People like you, supporting us. For example, reading our blog and media company.
Yeah, this is it.
All of our great content, videos, clips, stories, of course, being first and foremost. So it should be a good story here. So we're always appreciative of that. Cannabis, of course, is one of the few things that can really bring people together.
How's it look?
It's always fun to celebrate that way. Oh, that's so good. Yeah. So craft cannabis has really been like a big issue this whole time, like in Jersey, that we've been fighting for the quality of it, how it's grown, where we get it. True craft cannabis, of course, was not legal for decades. Some say, of course, it's still not legal. But we're here for a friendly debate, a friendly discussion of like what's going on with this. We've worked really hard about it, because I appreciate it, HeadyNJ appreciates that along with craft cannabis, a lot of innovation does come from like the underground legacy, growers and home growers, that like just have like a great passion for their plant, for their garden, that like that's their thing, that's their like big hobby that they love and love caring for it, almost like the way when you care for like a pet, sometimes I think. The people like say like of the plants listen to music. There's a whole story. I leave it to the growers here. For example, but it's hard, when you have, trying to grow in the underground. It's hard harvest a great bloom in the shadows, literal or metaphorical. So craft means like a lot of things to a lot of people. A lot of people have sacrificed it. We have had since 2022 legal cannabis that isn't exactly craft. That's a big issue. A lack of craft cannabis, the opposite of craft and quality, is a really big issue. It's only recently, we've had some like nice boutique dispensaries, micro dispensaries, grown them. Getting like products made of craft cannabis, for example, the flower itself, grown by Lindsay's Brighter Side Farms here. It's really important. But craft means a lot of things to a lot of people. But to me, I think that craft to me means like a certain set of values of what we want to see in the market. And I think these values, like include, for example, community, diversity, social justice, like a certain like level of like what we want to see, for example, in the world, is centered on this, in this movement, is centered on this plank, Hello? Everyone please silence your cell phones. Sorry, man. It happens. This is the modern era. We have all sorts of interesting, AIs now. And we have legal weed, and we have cell phones, so it happens. We accommodate for everything. So it's great, to have. Now we finally have some legal craft cannabis that's being grown, that's being sold, and being made into products, for example, and we have people working on all sorts of things. Before we get to our panel, I want to thank a few people. I'd like to thank our host, J.C. Walls of the Liberty Arts District here. They're our hosts. We're also happy to feature Panda Farms. They're a great craft cannabis company. These guys are good guys with like strong roots in culture, for example, from Oregon. They started in Jersey in the medical, now they're in the adult use side, so happy to have them here. We're happy to have our return sponsor, Hispanic Bazooka. We have great guys there, Dispensary in Elizabeth, run by a father-son team for family business, for example, that way. We're also happy to have Tom, U.S. Payment Services. Tom, Come and get your cash. Nice. Tom provides ATMs for dispensaries. Best I've ever heard. Nice. We're also happy to have Shore Grow Hydro. They're a great store, and guys can provide education and materials for growing. So we're also happy to have Gene Traders here. Gene Traders is an expo for hemp cultivators, interested in genetics, seeds, and baby clone plants. I'll ask him all the questions about growing, whatnot, creating your own craft, for example. That would be fun. We want to thank also our influencer, Dirty Dang. Thanks. We got the gas squad here, John Frank, working our dad bar. We got DJ Mike with good music. We also have Puerto Rico on the go, providing great food in the front room. Of course, I want to thank my MC, Mario Ramos, of I Bought You. Hey! Great guy, helping us out. And of course, my new brand guy, Brian, and my lovely fiance, Jody. Helping us rep and grow the brand here, in our great word. So, okay, let's get started with the panel. Guys, welcome. It's great to have you guys. Introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lupino. I created Gene Traders 9.5 years ago. The purpose ends up being to make sure that cultivators from the smallest grow to the biggest facility you've ever seen, make sure they have genetics, hemp genetics, and so on. So I run around the country talking to legislators, setting up, protests, boycotts, everything that
How's the sound?
I can possibly do to make sure that I support the craft grower. And I 100% believe the more friendlier the state when it comes to the home grower and the craft grower, the better the state will always be. Some of the best states out there end up being the ones that have some of the greatest home growth. And that gives you a few things. That gives you now more experienced growers that can end up actually getting into the medical and the recreational side. And not just that too, but you're able to actually select more, experiment more, but the restriction limits all that, slows that down quite a bit. That's why I run around the country like a crazy person for the craft growers.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay Shaw. I'm the owner of Brighter Side Farms. We are a craft cultivation located in Pleasantville, and we focus on living soil, organic soil practices. We're super passionate. We've been in the legal cannabis space since 2006 in Colorado, growing even longer than that. And we've been focusing on trying to cultivate the best possible cannabis we can, because we really do feel like over all these years, the biggest casualty in our industry has been the plant itself. And having new technology come is great, and you get bigger yields and more money and all this different stuff, but the actual real artisanal craft of really representing what that cannabis plant should be per genetic is something that we really strive for and we're super passionate about. So I'm excited to be here.
Hi everyone, my name is Dave Jefferson. I'm the CEO of the Leaf Joint. We're a Class 5 retailer located in the Jersey City market, Heights to be specific. And we actually do business with Brighter Side as well, one of the fire products on our menu. So our thing is just if you ever come into our establishment, it has a different look from the other retailers in the area. Not so much of the Apple I store look. It's kind of like a place you probably, I look like I should have, this place may have good weed. So, there's always the aroma of incense in the air. Other little fragrances we have around, so it really gives that kind of the old school feel for those of us that came up in the 70s with the black lights and the, it has more of that feel. So, our goal is just to educate the consumer further. You'd be surprised in this industry that I've learned, because we're directly dealing with the customer. We're on the front line there. So we get to see the question, we get to hear the questions being asked. And what I've taken away from that is just a lot of uneducated people that purchase weed every day that just don't know what they're buying, right? So the idea for us is to train our bud tenders, make sure that they're getting people what they need, and I'm sure that works out great for the manufacturers as well, to get that information of what the customer's looking for. Like we often struggle with not enough sativa, too much indica on your menu, just trying to get the right variety of items on this. Really, that's what it is. What I've taken away from it is the customer should dictate your menu to really be successful in this business, and kind of take it from there.
Hi, I'm Jessica Marie. I'm the owner and CEO of Baked by the River Dispensary. We're in Lambertville, New Jersey, right across from New Hope, Pennsylvania. Been open for a year and a half. We're really proud to be a legacy to legal dispensary, and work with a lot of folks who are also from the legacy market, and work with some incredible craft cultivators as well, including Brighter Side. We really curate our menu in a way where I don't sell weed that I wouldn't smoke myself. And so we're proud to be able to work with our customer base and really highlight some of the best growers in the state right now. And it's awesome to be at this point in the regulated market where there is, we're expanding to see so many new craft cultivators coming, like all the craft cultivators we love, really like expanding and bringing new strains to market as well. It's at a point where it's hard to pick what I have on my shelf, what I'm going to get for myself. But we're big advocates as well at my dispensary. We advocate for home grow. We advocate for better accessibility in this market. We advocate for independent micro businesses, small businesses in the regulated industry, folks that made it from a legacy to legal market, the social equity businesses that are underrepresented. So it's something that, even though we have a regulated market, there are a lot of things that we want to see moving in better directions right now, and continue to be part of that conversation so that we can see the market that we want to have here in New Jersey, and also advocate for home grow.
Hi everybody, my name is John Williams. I'm an attorney. I've been in practice for 30 years. That whole time I practiced alcoholic beverage control, ABC law, which is helped me in cannabis, a lot of other different practice areas. But then I've been doing cannabis as a specialization since 2017. All aspects, started with hemp, adult use cannabis, done some work even in industrial. So a lot of different license types, clients, mostly individuals and small businesses. And the East Coast is, as an attorney, I mean, it's nonstop fun. Obviously, you guys know because you're impacted by it. It never ends in terms of the legal challenges, and always having to be prepared for what you know is coming and what you don't, and be prepared to pivot and look out for what's coming. Right now, I'd say the biggest observation, particularly coming out of MJ Unpacked, Atlantic City this last week, is, and in the last month or so, is that I see that we're moving out of the initial licensing, you know, and the whole gold rush into operations, and into operations is bringing on new challenges. There's still new licensing is coming on board, seems like one municipality at a time, and then a little closer, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. And then the other new emerging, well, obviously we're working out what's going to happen with the intoxicating hemp derivatives in terms of product, and then cannabis beverages is certainly the big new emerging field. So that's it.
Thank you. So, a big question is, how do you define craft cannabis?
Simple. The more attention you can give to your plants, the better it comes out. So if you see a gigantic room as far as the eye can see, and you don't see an army of individuals taking care of it, mids. It's that simple. The more attention you give to the plant, the better quality it comes out. So that's why. Not bad.
Mediocre.
Just could have been better. Could have tasted better. Could have looked better. You know. But there's nobody. It's a machine. I've seen trolleys, 2 million square feet indoor greenhouses, just trolley tracks spraying. Nobody out there. Also, too, for the stuff you don't know what they're spraying, you don't want nobody out there. So it's just about how great can you actually cultivate the plants, and it'll come out more amazing than anything else out there. Like I've seen some strains that end up being, you know, done under like what we call, you know, feeding tubes under rock wool, and I've seen the same plant in an organic bed and taste totally different, but the organic bed ends up being a superior taste, flavor, and smoke. And you see the tubes with the rock wool produce more. So it can produce a lot more mids or regular mediocre weed, but the organic one is going to eat its lunch every single time because it's just going to taste better. It's got more complexity in it. So craft means, to me, you can take you're taking care of that plant much more attention than you normally do.
I concur with a lot of things you just said. When I think about craft, I think about it in two parts. First, I start with quality, right? What are you actually feeding that plant? What are your farming practices? Are you doing big ag salts? Are you having feeding tubes in rock wool and dosatron systems? You know, what level of quality are you at? And if you can move into a, you know, soil-based cultivation or organic farming practice or natural farming practice, I think that for me is kind of the first definition of craft, because, you know, those 10,000 square foot football fields are doing Athena, and there could be a guy in a closet growing the same exact way. So that's kind of my first level of what defines craft. And then next is really, how do you infuse yourself and your morals and what you envision your product being into that product you deliver. So from the very top, the ownership, all the way down to the morals and the ethics of putting bud into a jar, that to me, if you can infuse your soul essentially into a product, I think that can really define craft as well. And we see that in a lot of industries, whether it be brewing, wine manufacturing, even watchmaking, like some micro brands. So, you know, if you can really infuse yourself and not cut corners and, you know, recognize that, yeah, as a cultivator, I'm getting probably a third, 2/3 less than what my competitors are growing right now. But I sell out, and we have a small cult following. So I mean, for me, that's what I care about. And I also believe that there's like a certain size you can potentially be, and I think you can't overextend yourself. So anyway, just from my perspective, really it starts with quality. What are the ingredients you're putting in? And then 2, are you a true representation of that brand, or is it getting lost in some investor pool? And at the end of the day, no one cares what's going in that jar, because that's my biggest nightmare.
Horrible one. It's a horrible nightmare.
Talk a little louder, they can't hear it back here.
Okay.
Do you hear me now? All right.
Chase, please.
You guys can hear him good, right?
From taking things from the sales point of it, as long
Sounds
as, you know, quality of product is very important. And like I said, the customer would tell you or lead you to what they like, right? And you know, as a good dispensary, you got to really listen to that. I think sometimes I know anyone that runs a dispensary probably fell into the same trap. Yeah, it's that fire pre-roll with diamonds infused, and you're like, it's at 42% THC, and you're bringing it in, and it sits on your menu, right? Because one of the things that you realize is, yeah, people like to feel the plant, but there are limitations to it. Maybe some of the legacy people that's been smoking for years, you know, can handle the diamond infused 42% THC pre-roll. But what I found out is it looks like, you know, a lot of the customers fall somewhere in between, right? So, you know, that's just information you get to, you know, to the growers when I have the conversations with them. You know, the customer is looking for, you know, what's the best quality for the type of, you know, product that is being sold. So, you know, price point and quality, it's where it's at. But, you know, back to the craft pieces, you know, it's just about, you know, now getting a real good quality product to the person that wants to smoke it, that's clean, that's tested. You know, we're still hearing bad stories of fentanyl-laced type of product making it to the street. People just thinking they're getting normal marijuana, you know. And I'm all with the legacy market and even the home growers. You know, I talked to several dispensaries and go, well, wouldn't that kind of cut into, you know, what we're making? And the way I look at it is that we have farmer markets that are packed every weekend, but yet we got some people that grow their own tomatoes. I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
So craft for me, I'm a med patient. I have been a med patient here in New Jersey since 2014. It's something that got me through multiple surgeries. It's something that got me off of opioids. It's something that saved my life. And so when I say that I won't sell weed, that I won't smoke myself, I come from it from that perspective. And so what craft means to me is weed that is of medicinal quality. Like I'm an adult use dispensary. We are not a med dispensary, but I use cannabis medicinally. And a lot of the craft growers that are bringing it to market, like I am conscientious about what I smoke in the same way that I'm conscientious about what I eat. Like, I go out of my way to find the organic farmers. I go out of my way to pay a little bit more when I know that I'm supporting a locally owned farm with really good practices. And so in the same way, we try and reflect that on my dispensary shelf. And so the craft cultivators are the independent, are the small business, are the cultivations that I can go visit, the people that are using organic inputs, the people that have real soil, like, and are using just quality practices in their space as well, and really being mindful of that, because I've also visited grows of some of the larger corporations, and like you are so incredibly correct that we need more education for just the customer base, because like I will have one of the best quality strains on my shelf, and you open the jar and it smells phenomenal, like the Forbidden Skittles from Brighter Side, and like folks are so used to like having some of the corporate weed that maybe is like a terpene infused or a distillate infused terp sprayed pre-roll that like as soon as you smell it, it gives you a headache. Don't smoke that. Like, and so when we have that quality of like cannabis on the market, and then you have the real like quality genetics and coming from cultivators that also give credits where it's due for where those genetics came from. That's part of craft culture as well. And so that's what craft means to me in my dispensary, and I think the customer base really appreciate being able to like open a jar and really get high on a strain in a different way than they do of the majority of mids on the market. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting sitting here thinking about this because, you know, look at the participants in the industry that craft cultivators, craft manufacturers, and it occurred to me maybe even a craft dispensaries in the sense of dispensaries that cater and have a relationship with those two participants in the industry. But not to be too philosophical, but what popped into my mind was that there's heart and soul. There's a love for the plant. There's integrity. There's craftsmanship. I call you guys cannabis whisperers for years. You know, like, you know, like talking to the plant, and it's fantastic. It's wonderful. There's artisanship, so there's that artist care for it. At the end, the result of that is quality and a uniqueness and a distinction. And I very much think that's where you beat the strata of the industry, where the horse is profit and the cart is quality, if even. You know, the horse gets bigger than the cart, whereas the craft participants, you all put quality first, you know, and the profit follows it. That's how you make your profit. Nothing wrong with making money. And I'd introduce too an observation. Dan and I have been talking about this topic for some years at different events, and particularly trying to organize the craft industry in some way for whatever purposes, communication or more. And I see and continue to see, I really think it's a matter of observation, not even opinion, meaning that, like, it's not my opinion, it's just facts that I see, that in the industry, there's participants that start with, I call it corporate MSOs, and that's the 1%. That's the hedge funds and the private equity. They'll never do crap. Everything they do is a race to the bottom, right? That's what we do. And we know what they're gonna do, and this isn't meant to start anything or have any debate, but I think that if you're gonna have realistic solutions, you have to be live in reality, right? So let's see them for what they are. There's our other strata that's MSO, which that's kind of hit or miss right now. You can have corporate mentality, but we're getting people on point who have multi-state, you know, licenses or whatever. I think that depends on, you know, how they act and what they do in their trade practice. And then there's everyone else. I'm really interested in everyone else, and then the level of MSO where there's still some heart and soul in it.
Nice, thank you. I think we actually have like a very similar definitions here from what I'm hearing. Like it's pretty like agreed upon, like the practices, which is interesting because of course there's probably people in the middle that say you're craft, I'm craft, whatever. But then the question is then what's not craft? That's what I'm curious about. What is not craft here?
It's also simple. It's just the one that doesn't take care of the plant. Like, you know, talking about the heart and soul, people forget many times that a cultivator is actually part of the environment. I'm not trying to use the Almighty's name like that, but you are turning off the sun. You are turning on off, on, you adding food to it, you're giving it water, you're giving it wind. You're deciding, I want to move you here, I want to move you there, I want to put you in rock wool, I want to put you in soil. And that's what generally tends to be not craft is usually what you find a lot of investors pushing people towards. Like when you talk about, they're just looking for their ROI. That's it. And it's business is business, and that's fun, but don't try to be something you're not. And if you're just gonna pump out mids, fine. Everybody needs Budweiser, right? The Budweiser ends up being the #1 beer sell. Doesn't mean it's the best. It just means that they're selling the most of it. You know, there's plenty of homebrew IPA, something like that today, and they're being way better. But that's how you gotta see it as, if, don't be impressed by a massive facility. That's not impressive. Those plants need care. And that kind of symbiotic relationship, like you end up feeling from that plant, like no, they've already done it, tested. Attached, what was the lie detector test onto plants, and then like saw symbols, and they like threatened the plant and saw the plant react. Like it's got like, it feels our energy waves. So if the grower's a dickhead, well, maybe your plant's gonna taste bad. It can happen. And a lot of times if they got no kind of love, no kind of attention, I mean, what is that? That's just, it's hollow. And it gives you, in my opinion, an empty high.
When I think about what's not craft, I have to kind of come from my perspective as a cultivator. And, when I see a lot of people just Betty Crocker in it, where they're just following an ingredient, and it's not their fault, they're getting direction from the top, but I find that when people are following recipes and they don't know the why, they can't look at a room and go, you know what, this needs potassium, or I need more calcium, magnesium. They can't actually read a plant, they're just following a script. I tend to find that those cultivations are really not craft. And, as far as size goes, if you're using a sorting machine to put your bud into a Mylar bag, I mean, that's like the first line of defense, right? Like, if you're in a Mylar bag, I really have no respect for you. I'm really sorry. I don't mean to, ruffle any feathers, but, that's just the truth.
Did you hear about the what they found? Did you hear what they found about the Mylar bags, the shiny inside of it?
What?
Some of that shiny stuff inside the Mylar bags is actually rubbing off on the bud. And the way they're able to find this out, they put one in the microwave and you start seeing sparks.
Oh no. No.
Just to let everybody know.
And the more terps on the weed, the more metal comes off.
That is disturbing.
Yes.
Science!
It's crazy to me, but it's just one of those things. And you bring up the investor side of things. The reason why I feel like, well, one, our industry took a huge hit of old school OG growers. They got chased out, they got bought out, they got burnt out, and we've operated for the last 10 years with this weird knowledge pool. And for me, we don't have a lot of those experienced growers anymore. And people are just getting their feet wet, getting into cultivations, and they don't know any better. And from an investor standpoint, they want something they can rinse and it looks like this just died. Sorry.
Their microphone just cut out. Sounds like they had a battery die out there. It's all right.
No, we're good.
They went,
There you go.
here's sweet.
There you go.
Sorry about that,
Only
guys.
something to show, but please continue.
But to the point of with investors, and they don't want somebody in there that grows craft weed being the guy they pay, because if that or gal, if that individual leaves that cultivation, they're screwed. They need somebody that's doesn't have experience that can follow what's on the bottle. And unfortunately, that's what 85% of product is in our marketplace right now. So it's one of those things that it's crazy.
All right, non-craft to me, it kind of goes along the same lines. It's about the plant and the care given to it. We all know the bigger growers mass produce things, get it out. I don't even know what the quality is like after the customer, to go back to them again, will let you know when something, if you got let's say a gas face and you may have it from 3 different growers, right? You would often see that the one that comes from the larger one, the ones that doesn't do as well on the menu, right? So there's something to be said for the the person that really takes time and put the care into their growing the plant. I see it all the time because one of the things we like to do at my dispensary is kind of deal with a lot of the smaller growers. That's like one of the major things that I do. They often, have no minimum, so you can bring in a couple of strands to your menu, get it tested out. Like I said, the customer will let you know, right? And I've seen. I'll take one for instance. Garden Greens was one that had came on the market when I first started ordering from them. It was like 4 strands, and now, you could probably consider them one of the big dogs now. So, they definitely started out with the right intent in mind, but it's been a while since I've smoked it to see if the quality maintains there. I would assume since they are still selling, but So my thing is really dealing with the smaller growers. There's some fire ones out there that I carry my menu. Right now is probably the first time I see where you can go into different dispensary menus and see. Can you hear me? Yeah. All right. I would say now is probably the only time I see we can go into different dispensary menus and see a difference between menus. At one time it was cookie cutter, and we all carried the same product. So now you get to introduce the customer to some of the smaller growers that's really doing what they need to do with the plant, and I see a lot of them coming up.
So at our dispensary, we try to visit as many of the cultivators as we can. If we can go and see their grow practices, if we can go and talk with the staff, if we can go and really get hands-on, like that makes a big difference for us. And oh my Lord, there's such a different energy when you walk into like a large corporation where like the folks working there are not being taken care of themselves. No, the plant's not being taken care of. Like it's a terrible energy. You walk in and the plants are sad, and you go out, you leave, and you just want to shower. And it's a level of like they don't have responsible practices. The cultivators, the people working for them frequently will talk to me about if I could do it this way, I would do it this way, but because
Flax is stance of it.
do it this way, and I hate it. Frequently, folks that work for these larger corporations won't even buy the weed on my they're not on my shelf, but they won't buy the weed.
They won't buy their own product.
Yeah, exactly. That speaks so loudly to me. And then you contrast that with going to visit one of the independent smaller cultivators, like Writer's Side, like Full Tilt Labs, where you walk in and it is the most beautiful, wonderful smelling, great energy of you can just tell the plants are happy, the people are happy, and it makes a difference in the end quality of the product. This is weed that I can trust. This is weed that I know when someone opens up that jar, they're just gonna smile and smell it and be like, I made the right choice. Versus a lot of these larger places that don't go through their due diligence, that might use irradiation practices irresponsibly. There's a lot of things that I don't trust in the ways that they are growing their weed and bringing their weed to market. And so it's so very clear when you go into the grows themselves, the difference, and then when you smoke it, you can tell it immediately, as soon as you open the jar.
So off the top of my head, what I wrote down as far as not cannabis is they're in for the money. If it gets difficult, they're going to leave rather than pivot or change their plan and stay in the game somehow, so they're not in it. I always call it the rapids. You jump in the rapids and you just battle and you try to stay afloat. It's like that for everybody. lawyers, vendors on schooners here with ATMs, even publications. So, except they're gonna go, they tend to be the entities that say they know, K-N-O-W. Lawyers, trade groups, everybody, publications, cultivators. We got it, because they're branding themselves and they want to come off as experts. How do you say and about a constantly moving entity, or we're building the plane as we go along? I don't care what metaphor you use. I like the rapids. You jump in and you paddle and try to stay afloat. The minute you jump up on the bank and are there looking at it, saying you know what it is, it's moved downstream. It's changed. People here were kind of all in it, working it out together. One of the things that is key for what I see and the message I really want to bring, because we've been talking about it for a while, is that whatever they are, and it doesn't matter, good or bad, it's like, let them do their thing. There are common interests, there should be common ground. They can do things you can't, like, with politicians and stuff. But there's definitely different interests, goals, needs, trade practices, strategy, and tactics. I could go on and on between what you all have here with that heart and soul, the goals that you have at many levels, personally, professionally, and what the not craft cannabis is. I think it's extremely important to recognize that, not with even any judgment or passion or like emotion or debating, with just cold hard reality. Because if you want realistic solutions, you've got to look realistically at the situation. And I see it again and again. If you all don't, I see it legally, I see it business-wise, I see it any way you can come to it. So my message is that you all should be organizing in some way, so you have a unified voice, so you're keeping the culture, so you're there with, it's funny, I'm gonna finish up, but I don't wanna go on for too long. I tried to abstract my thinking some here, but I was thinking about how that idea of constantly learning and going to all the events and not saying, I know, and I'm at this event, and we're the trusted leaders. It's like, how do you say that about something that's like ongoing? But more importantly, it's almost like an extension of the concepts of diversity, equity, inclusion. Not for purposes of the participants in the industry, but to have a healthy industry, you have to have a diversity of viewpoint. You have to let the weirdos be chiming in. They cut off. No, they're not the message. The weirdos are the freedom. The fucking dude went in his garage and made Apple computers, or whatever. Like, it's some dudes out there doing something stupid. You might even say it's stupid, and then you're gonna be like, holy shit, man, that's right. Equity would just be allowing that. It's a creative endeavor. The minute we start choking off that creativity, it's not gonna be a healthy industry. And you should be inclusive for different viewpoints and all that. I literally was down in Atlantic City trying to get this even to the people there who are plugged into Trenton and all that, even at the point of saying, like, look, put aside that you got your fucking hands in it, and don't you want to make money? And you make money by having a healthy industry, and that includes openness, whatever. Actually, you get that diversity, equity, inclusion. The word's kind of managed. You guys are always going to be the ones doing that, okay? The industry's going to get killed by all that big money, including their own. You follow? That's what I'm trying to get out there. You're going to cut off your nose to spite your face, and it's all going to be McWeed. They call it the race to the bottom. I didn't make that up, but that's what that whole late-stage capitalism thing ends in. Whatever. I don't even got to be angry about it. We know where it ends, so how do you keep it from happening? And then most importantly, how do you position yourself where you make a living in it, too?
Right, it's one of the good points about the nature of having like a craft industry, for example. Yeah, like a business in the rapids, yes, it's the best metaphor. Thank you. You speak to me. But then like you keep going at it, and then like you work in the rapids, and then it's sort of fun sometimes to like play in rapids, and this is what people do on vacation. Yeah. So it's interesting here, we're not really about wildly diverging viewpoints. I think we have like a lot of the same ideas here on like what is craft and what is not craft. Versus people like somewhere in the middle alleging to be craft. So, but then that's the catch then, we have this legal craft cannabis now, and sometimes it's not very affordable according to some people and like some consumers. And this is really difficult now, because then what are we saying is craft? Are we saying this is like a fine wine, and we say this is like a fine, other stuff. For example, it's a big issue. So is craft cannabis high-end cannabis? Is it possible for it to be affordable?
Of course. Of course. It just ends up being, first off, state regulations, state taxes. I don't know if you guys heard, California's raised it to 19%. I think Jersey's hinting at raising it 6 times more.
$240 a pound starting in June, probably.
Yep.
So that only hurts the industry in that state, because what happens is that the smaller growers can't afford it. Obviously, the big ones with deep pockets they're planning on taking a hit for the next 5 to 10 years on purpose to drive out all the small ones. Like this is their business plan. But like you were saying, they're cutting off their own nose at the same time. There's a lot of that you see a gigantic facility just completely abandoned. They're doing it every time a state gets a little bit too old. They just dump the whole thing. You have gigantic facilities empty in Colorado, in California, in Massachusetts, like massive, massive places. And they just continue to move on. And something that they do heavily ends up being is influencing regulation. So they're the only ones playing, but still to race to the bottom. They have no, they think you can very easily assembly line push out. And they know better, but they're still pushing to it because they're just thinking about metric tons, right? How I get into market, I can end up, if it all goes bad, I can radiate it. If it all still goes bad, I can end up putting it into infused pre-rolls, because the reason that infused pre-rolls are the #1 seller is, in my opinion, is simply because it's just the new Nickelback. That's it. They're just able to sell it, because you can't sell the quality of it through the paper. And some people will dare to rip it apart, send it to the lab. What's it got in it? Oh, pesticides, really? Oh, mold, oh shit, really? Oh wow, look at all that. And it just ends up being more and more of that stuff. So, yeah.
So I feel pretty strongly about this topic. Back in the day, we all used to buy weed on the streets, and there was like that sweet spot of when you used to buy a bag of weed for $50 an eighth, and it was really good. Yeah, it was post Beasters, post Headies, where it was like really like had actually a name, right? And somebody grew it that you knew. And you pay $50 for that eighth. And now fast forward, 25 years later, we're arguing about the price of weed. And it's like, so if to buy a really awesome handcrafted eighth that is the best representation of what a genetic, say that you manufacture, you put out there, the best representation of that bud, why do we think that it should be $30? In addition to that, if as a cultivator, I'm making, the other cultivators that use Big Ag products are producing 2/3 more product than me, and it costs me the same. I pay the same electricity rate that Curaleaf does. It costs a lot of money. And especially today,
pays less for
with global
electric than
tariffs,
she does.
the cannabis
I
market
guarantee
is
it.
absolutely being impacted right now by the tariffs because all of our packaging comes from China. And the lights, and the electricity is going up, and the seed tax going up next month. So right then and there, we're looking at the starting cost per pound between, $600 and $700 for a craft cultivator, just for packaging and seed tax. So, we tend to criticize growers for demanding a higher price for a product that they produce. And I think we need to stop trying to push craft product for MSO pricing, because you actually cannot manufacture it for the same price. And in addition, I don't think people actually understand how to calculate their
Facts all day long here.
And it's not just your nutrients, it's not the electricity cost, it's everything. It's your building, it's your lawn maintenance, it's what you have to pay for your fire extinguishers, it's every single cost you have, because we don't get to write off those costs. So at the end of the day, you could have a great year and end with a negative $100,000 profit because you have to pay $100,000 in taxes that you don't have money to pay. So, you know, I ask for people to actually take this into consideration and understand that to create craft product in your closet, you buy weed from a home grower, that home grower, it costs that person a lot to manufacture. And so I look at it as, if people want to buy good weed, I don't think it's that shocking that the weed is above $60 an eighth.
This is the difference between top shelf liquor and bottom. It's not difficult to understand. Weed has, it's a plant, right? So it has kind of like an active, like fruit or vegetable, has an active shelf life, right? In the beginning, it's fresh. First 3 months, in my opinion, top tier, right? That deserves. But after that, that's why harvesting is very important. But after that, it starts dropping out because no matter what, the oxidation or degradation continues to cure, continues to change. What it tests now, in 6 months, tests totally different. And just understanding that there's different things. It's like, oh, why can't you give it to me cheaper? I was like, do you realize how difficult this thing was to grow? I was like, do you realize how much I actually put into this thing? I was like, no. I was like, it's like, if you can't afford top shelf, it's okay. I got some wealth. It's no problem with that. I got the cheap, I got the stuff from last year, all day for you.
I agree 100%. Honestly, I do. And yeah.
All right, so, this is a subject that, I got a soft spot for, because as a wholesaler, as a retailer, we run into this all the time, right? So you often, when you open up, you try to get a menu that has a variety of different options for the customer. But what happens is that the customer, and just dealing with them on the front line of things, they are definitely price conscious, right? So this is where the whole education piece of it comes in. And, where, I meet with my bud tenders, and I'm like, listen, I worked in retail years ago, and we used to have, around Christmas time, how you had like the cheap $30 DVDs where they were coming up out the trunk. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah. This is in the store. Those was just to create foot traffic, right? But the company didn't want you to sell any of that. You was to upgrade them to something better, right? So if you take it, the thinking the same. I don't know if we could all survive off of, just selling a bunch of, pre-rolls in this industry. And we got items that are aids and stuff that are a lot more expensive, but the customer just doesn't understand why is it cost more, right? And this is to be where the education piece of it comes in. And you gotta have bun tenders on the front line, because, I think it's all kind of related. If we're not ordering, you're not gonna wanna make it, right? So, the bud tenders is so important to make sure that the customer, especially when you have a very wide menu, right? Things get lost on it, right? You can get in a new product and you think it's fire, but your customer walk in and they're just used to buying the same old stuff, and that's what they buy, and they're not trying anything else, right? So this is where I tell them, the bud tenders all the time, it's great to know what your customer smokes, but offer other options sometimes. See if they, willing to try something really more along the craft line, where maybe it doesn't have the big name attached to it that they see in every dispensary. It's something from a smaller grower, and I tell them all the time when I'm talking to a customer, hey, you want to try this? This is fire. And you'll be surprised how many of them, by trying it one time, now becomes a customer, a new customer for that small grower. So it falls back to education, and once we continue to make sure we got an educated customer out there that understands, the difference in pricing and why, to take your point, why is this a top tier item? But what's behind that is supposed to be just got a $60 price tag on it.
So I just wanted to add something that you said from the point of sale perspective, and I'll ask both of you guys this question. When it comes to, organic bud, I find that the actual longevity of the high itself, so the actual quality of the high that you are taking in lasts much longer. And I do believe, people that choose to buy craft, they might buy a jar and it lasts them, a week and a half versus buying an eighth from another company and they blow through it in, 48 hours. Do you see that from a retail perspective with your clients, and have they given you that feedback? Because that's where I've been able to really drive home like the value add when you're selling organic type of products in your store.
Yeah. So we see a lot of that where the customers are coming back to this product, one, because it doesn't give them the longevity in the high. And so, they're back the next day for something, especially if it's over the weekend. So, I guess essentially you're selling more eights, but, it comes back to the education piece again. If the customer is just not aware that there are these craft products out there that are, even better than I don't want to mention any names, but some of these products that
He was going to say Curaleaf. I'll say it for him.
Right. And you just got to introduce it to them. I'm telling you, once they get a taste of it, and to your point, it lasts longer, it's fresher, it's just a better quality of bud, and it's just to get the customer to try it.
I definitely really appreciate you for bringing that up, because that's something that, as a med patient, I talk to my customers about, like, when I was a med patient starting off in 2014, there were very limited options available. And it was one of those things that, like, I have been that med patient that went to a dispensary and maybe I only had $60, maybe I only had $70. And I was like, okay, I'll get the full quarter of shake because it's more weight, and then I'll be able to take that home and it'll last me longer. And no, I burned through that immediately, and it didn't give me the relief that I needed.
I hear you, Lynn.
So now
Pretty
I'm
bad,
7
right?
months out. I don't have money to spend on more weed, and all the weed that I just smoked didn't even give me the pain relief that I needed. Didn't even give me a sleep that night. And so, as someone who's personally had that experience, I didn't want any of my customers coming through and having that similar experience of hey, I spent money on this, and instead of it giving me the relief that I needed, instead of it giving, it gave me a headache. And so, instead of having those products on my shelf, I really try to gear people to the higher quality products that are going to get them the relief they're looking for, that are going to get them the, just the effects, the high that they're trying to seek there. And in an industry that is set up this way, that is overregulated, that is very much dependent on a lot of kind of predatory industry trends. There's a lot of forces that are pushing towards monopolization. So as a retailer, I want my farmers to set their price because I want them to continue. This is what's going to make the market better. This is what's going to keep us from just having cookies on the shelf. We started that way. We started with just MSO products. And the fact that we now have different craft cultivators that we can pick from at this point that all get me the relief that I need in different ways, and I can have a variety that I'm proud to smoke and will get me to sleep every night type thing. That's the kind of industry we need to see, and that's the type of industry that we need to support. And how we spend our money makes that difference, especially in these early days as this industry is expanding. We need to support the smaller businesses. We need to support the independent cultivators. We need to support the craft cultivators. And at the end of the day, it's going to be better for the customer. As a med patient, I'm also really, I understand that there are folks that are going through different things in life where you can't afford the medicine that you need, and that's why we need accessible home grow. That's why I try and support organizations like the medical marijuana program here in New Jersey, or the New Jersey Coalition for Medical Marijuana, because they're pushing for insurance coverage. They're pushing for better accessibility. At my dispensary, every 2 months, tomorrow we've got an event where we're handing out 50 bags of 1 cent, sampled out 1 cent cannabis to women.
Pennied out. You hear that, CRC?
Because
Pennied out. Leave her alone.
access points are so important. and being able to make it accessible to people that use it medicinally is so important. But we shouldn't make the small farmers that are making this industry better suffer. Like, we need them so badly, and that's the weed that's actually going to get us what we need.
So today we've articulated a very common definition of what craft cannabis is. There's clearly commonality of interests and vision and goals and needs and obstacles and what you could facilitate, where you all could succeed together, even though you're in competition. And we've heard someone mention that there needs to be more education, something I've heard a lot, and we all consider right now, and think of 100 examples of where it's harmful to the growth of the industry or success of other industries because there's lack of awareness about cannabis. We need to educate, right? And the last thing is, I don't think McDonald's has yet taught the consumer that that's what a burger is supposed to taste like when it comes to cannabis. I think they're going to get there because they got the jump on it. Well, how'd that happen? Because they're there first everywhere with the legislators. But how do you do that and not just say it? How do you go into action? I have full faith, and where lawyers come from, evidence abundant and examples I could give about how proactive you all are, you know, at this level of the industry, that you just go do things. That's kind of crap. Like, fuck it, let's just go do it. You're all here today because you did that instead of trying to figure it all out and go get smart this and that and get a plan and come in or whatever. So if you wanted to do a PR campaign like Got Milk, you know, Got Craft Cannabis, and let people understand as they're learning, there's still a great deal of ignorance that I see. I don't think anybody here would have either the wherewithal, you know, resources or inclination to devote that to advertising or resources. But if you had a business alliance, you could all pitch in a very modest amount and be able to do that. And you could all pool your money, and when the shit hits the fan in Trenton, and again, just realism, just straight up. I don't care whether we like it or not, it's for sale. Government's for sale. Pull your money and go buy your seat at the table, okay? You do that by organizing. I've seen it in other industries. It comes out of the ABC world. I won't go into it now, but similar industry where combined, they fight negative legislation, they facilitate the industry, and then there's so many other things that come by being organized. Communications, networking, predicting what's coming, trade practices that in ABC world would be illegal. There's regulations that don't allow it. We ain't doing that right now in cannabis, but they are. So go do your own, you know, find co-ops, things like that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point to end on. Last thing is the idea of working closer together. You know, we've described the MSOs and their corporate culture and their lack of values versus literally infusing values into a place. And Jesse, you know, it is great magic. I myself love the great magic. You can say a place you just feel the palpable vibes. They're either an awful place or a great place. Yeah. It's really interesting. So I think that's definitely an interesting thing. And you guys think that should be done, you know, working together. Should we have a craft cannabis coalition of New Jersey?
In spirit. Because the second you become an organization, an association, yeah, fuck it up. Every single, I've been part of
Facts all day long.
And I swear, just based on spirit, we all get together, nothing official, no dues, no nothing. We just got the same mentality and we're putting out the same message. That's it. The second you become official, a 501c3, C4, C8, whatever you want to call it, it fucks it up. Every single time. And like you're saying, buy your own politician. And what they mean by that is donate to their campaign. You know how cheap it is? $1,000, $3,000. And now every time you got an issue or concern, you call them. They pick up. They got to speak on your behalf. Oh, I know them. They're very good people. What did it cost you? $1,000 every 2 years? I do. When I need to change something and I understand what's happening, pay attention to politics. Oh, you come out for re-election. Oh, okay. Who's running against you? All right, I'm gonna go talk. Oh, no, don't. What can I help you with? What can I help you with? Oh, this is what I need. Now, who's the one that's actually doing that? The MSOs. Maybe you don't have enough money to buy the whole state, but you maybe got your county. or just your representative, and maybe that's enough, because you're a small guy. But that's what they're doing, because like you're saying, it's for sale. It says it's not for sale, but campaign contribution, but we all know how it works. And I would love like a craft growers association that talks about standards and cultivator safety. Some of these lights are going to give people skin cancer. And there's like no specific regulation. Some people, some companies are actually building tech that the second you open up the door, specific spectrums end up shutting off for the safety of the cultivator. But that's people that care about their growers. The MSOs and everyone like that, they talk about $15 an hour, you expect them to grow top quality flower? And then they treat them bad, or don't listen to them, or don't listen, or like, hey, this is better? No, ROI. This program, we need that 5.5 per year, period, I don't care. Do your job, or I'll find somebody else that does, and that's what usually happens. Like, is it possible? Yes, but it has to be more of a cultural thing, truly cultural thing, to actually get together in order to actually put out this specific standard. And it can be done, and it has been done because we legalized in a lot of states. It wasn't an organization it wasn't just normal. It wasn't just minorities for cannabis. It wasn't students for cannabis. It wasn't comprehensive cannabis regulations. It was a combination of everybody pushing on the same message like, yo, legal weed is better than illegal weed. I mean, in a sense, I don't mean on quality. I mean on like not having people arrested, not ruining people's lives. You know, if you're a senior citizen and you still get caught smoking weed, even if you're in a legal state and the state didn't change it, they'll kick you out of that building because you smoke weed. Or if you got kids and they didn't change it, they'll take your kids. Like, because it has to deal with federal funding. And federal funding has to abide by federal laws, and because it's federal legal, so it's really tricky. But spitting that same message is what will really win. It's difficult to do, but it's possible.
Can I add on to that real quick?
Yeah, please.
I believe it can be done. I think it starts by keeping it simple. And I actually created early on with the CBD people, a CBD type trade organization. We created a paradigm, we created like an outline, and it was meant to be simple, easy, not top heavy. I've done nonprofit stuff both personally and legally, you know, where they get into shit. I know what happens, you get a click, but the whole point it was set up as what's called an unincorporated association. You're not even doing 501 anything. It's like the soccer league in the town. It allows you legally to open a bank account. But without getting into the details, the idea was it was structured simply. It was run by you all. The leadership is you all. And here's what I didn't make this up, man. I learned this from people who've got a lot of experience in these, any kind of group, right, where there's a board and this and that, other than corporation. They call it the principle of rotation. You bake into the rules that you rotate people. You don't get that one person taking over. Certainly ain't gonna be me. When I drafted this whole thing, I sat in a room with the CBD people and they taught me, and I just put it into legal. It's a structure where you can organize, but you don't have it become too top-heavy, co-opted by anybody, one personality, one bit of money, whatever, you know. And the last thing I was thinking about too, about being organized, you also can define right now what craft cannabis is to the market. Then they know what they're coming to buy. They don't know. We know the term. How about if you're out there defining what it is for them, and then they know to go ask for it? You set the metrics. You got the chance right now.
So I think about this a lot, we talk about this a lot, and we always, my inner circle, we always get caught up on deciding what craft is. And what someone does and what someone doesn't do, and how do we set those metrics? You know, like for example, if someone is growing in a closet, like is size matter? Is that a metric on craft? You know, and so if someone's in a closet growing with really bad cultivation practices, does that make them craft? And this is where I feel like I come to a stonewall. I think if we can all hold on to our vision and keep keep the conversation going and participating in meetings like this and talks like this, I think we can keep the craft culture alive and inch towards something of an organization. But yeah, I really struggle with like truly defining what that means for everybody. But on a final note for me, the best way I can describe craft in general is with all the facets of the industry. You have the black market, you're buying the maybe frozen, maybe unfrozen pizza out of the back trunk of the car. And then you go into the supermarket and you buy the frozen pizza, which is commercial, or you can go down the street to the pizzeria that's importing Roma tomatoes from Italy and has this fabulous mozzarella cheese, and so that's my easiest analogy for craft. And I just wanted to share that point of view.
Yeah. I'm another supporter of it. I think it could work as long as, obviously we got to have like-minded people getting together. As long as there's a representation in the organization from every facet of the process, from the seed to the customer. As long as there's a representation like that, I think it should be pretty successful. Now, I do agree, once you start to get too organized with the thing, it can blow up in your face. But we actually had a small little coalition of dispensaries that got together in Jersey City specifically, because we just felt that the city wasn't following certain rules when it came to approving these licenses on the city level and where they could be placed. So we formed a little coalition, and we were able to get a lot of these bills tabled because they made some mistakes, and then they wanted to rewrite their wrong by passing another bill that overrode the last bill, and we were going to make sure that that didn't happen. And actually, it was pretty successful. We all had an equal say, and we just brainstorm ideas before we actually went to the board. So it could kind of work. I think something in a format like this where everyone comes and just give their opinion on how we need to move forward. As long as we can do that and don't get too formal with it, I think it'll work for me.
I think that it's something that is absolutely needed. It's something that I would want to be a part of and support in a big way. It is incredibly hard to do in a way that's going to actually stay to the reason that it was formed, and not get corrupt by money and not get corrupt by bad players within it, because that inevitably happens the vast majority of the time, and it's very hard to set the standards of who is part of the craft cannabis group, because everyone will want to pay top dollar to be a part of that. And so having like-minded people come together, and the reason that I say that it's necessary is because my dispensary went through an issue recently, where we really leaned on the collective cannabis community in this state, and had a lot of people from cultivators, manufacturers, other dispensaries, people that were going for consumption lounges from all over the state, reached out to the regulators on the behalf of my dispensary, and we were able to get the conversation point moving forward in a way that brought us to the table. And as a small independent business that doesn't have the money for a lobbyist, can donate to certain campaigns, but I can't compete with the lobbying forces of the bigger businesses. Having multiple voices come together, show up with 80 comments to their CRC meeting, show up in force to the public comment section. Recently, it made a difference for my dispensary. And that's something I'm so incredibly grateful to the cannabis industry throughout the state and the folks that came through.
And that's because, just to be clear, that's because of you. That's why they did it.
Yeah.
That's the branding, that's the respect that they have for you is why they came to bat for you.
Those are facts.
I really appreciate you saying that. And it's something that I feel like I would 100% come to bat for the other folk in this industry as well, who I know that are doing it right. And I feel like the people who I know I want to be part of the coalition are people I reached out to, are people that I got the numbers for already, we know, in a way. And I want to very much lean on the expertise of other aspects, other like licensees within the industry to get a sense of what the important standards to bring people in would be. Because I don't have all that expertise as just a retailer myself. And so bringing the best minds of the folks that we're already working together, and we already trust each other, we already know each other's practices. Because I really think that can strengthen us, and I really think that's important in light of industry that really leans towards favor of the corporations.
So you guys are being like those people I said that stand on the bank and say they know, you know, except they're saying we know it won't work, or we've seen it won't work. This is cannabis, fuck it, do it. You know that there's benefits.
How many times I tell you guys to just go out there and fucking take it. Just go take it, man.
And that you could succeed by it.
It's yours.
I disagree. I think you want to know how to make a definition for craft cannabis? You have a big sort of meeting, maybe an actual meeting, or maybe send in input, and that's where, let me back up, make a point. You can put the principles before the personalities if you set it up right. You can have an organization where the principles are before the personalities and nobody's going to co-opt it, and you can do that in action because you can sit there and have everybody input. This is what we think craft cannabis is, the definition that the organization is going to create, and then there's 3 words, Robert's Rules of Order. Bring it to a vote. At some point, we're going to decide, because that's the rules. It's not anybody's, you know, co-opting it. The rules are you had your chance to input. We're now going to vote. You run the organization that way. I've been in a lot of organizations. I understand about what can happen, but the way we set it up, actually, it literally was meant to be. The hardest point really is initiating it, because the first group of people, nobody vote their man. So you got to get like a group of like people, the trustees that people would trust, and then they got to put some effort into it. After that, there's term limits, there's rotating, there's you can't be in twice, and you just keep it simple with whatever your goals are. It can be done. And I literally have the model. I'd be happy to help you do it.
Nice, that's great. No, we definitely need this sort of thing. There's definitely many other lawyers we've discussed about craft cannabis. It'd be great to help. It was definitely, like David is craft, you know, Lindsay can be craft, you know, this wouldn't, we don't necessarily need a grower-centric, you know, we need everybody in it. You know, and it was definitely a great conversation, but I think it's near the end. You know, I want to thank you guys very much. You know, Lou, Lindsay.
Thank you for having us here.
Yeah, it's great having you guys here. It's great hearing like different perspectives. Thank you everybody who's been coming out here to enjoy themselves and smoke up. Which we can do now.
All right, we're going to cut all them off. There we go. Turn that off. Turn that off. Hey! Turn that camera. Hold on. All right, everybody. I got people to meet and people to talk to. We got brighter sides here. I hope everybody thoroughly enjoyed that. We got. I want to talk to. I obviously want to talk to brighter side here. Thank you so much to Lindsay and Lou and Dan and David and Jesse and of course John Williams over here, attorney, cannabis advocate. We got Dan there. Dan from HeadyNJ, thanks so much for putting this thing together here. It was a great time. Check it out. We'll have a bunch more stuff coming up. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching today. Take care, man. So awesome. So great. Pick by the river, hanging out here, man. Everybody's hanging out. But we've been here. It's almost 4:20, so we're going to go outside. It's 4:18. Everybody, reach down. Find that pipe. You got 1 minute. Everybody, thanks so much for watching. Take care. And you know, just because we are out here, you know he's coming, right? He'll be here for 4:20. It's the one, the only. It's the Mantis. right, everybody. Once again, thanks for watching. Everybody, take care. Remember, nobody should be in jail for cannabis. Remember, stop that green stigma. Support your local growers. All right, we support home grow. We support all those good sort of things. All right, let's stop that stigma. Make sure everybody's safe out there. All right, everybody, take care. Be safe. We will catch you on the next one. Thanks, everybody, so much.